Our next keynote speaker is a longtime friend of the LGBT community. Olympia Dukakis has been a consistently strong supporter of LGBT rights, as evidenced most recently this year when she spoke out in support of the first ever gay pride parade in Cyprus. Since her 1964 screen debut, Olympia Dukakis has charmed audiences and critics alike. The Academy Award winner has an impressive repertoire on stage, small, and silver screen, including her groundbreaking portrayal of a transgender woman, Mrs. Madrigal, in Tales of the City. A personal favorite and set right here in San Francisco. More recently, she played a lesbian fighting to get married in Cloudburst. Let's take a few minutes and review a few of her highlights.
Bite on your neck. Your life's going down the toilet.
You love him, Loretta?
Ma, I love him awful.
Oh, God, that's too bad.
Just want to hit something. I want to hit it hard.
Here. Hit this. Go ahead, Malin. Slapper.
Oh, yeah. She's gone.
Mr. Harlan, of all the teachers here, you're my favorite.
Bonfigliano, that's not a Jewish name.
I'm Marianne Singleton.
Come on, I'll show you the flat.
Well, there's a view. If you count a patch of bay through the trees, utilities included, small house, nice people. Did you just get here this week?
Is it that obvious?
The look is a dead giveaway. You can't wait to bite into that lotus.
We'll drive to Canada and we'll get legally married.
Maybe we could work out some sort of trial commitment.
How about 100 years? 6 months. 75 years.
5 years.
31-year trial commitment.
And then we can see other people.
There's a safety that we feel in the theater because someplace we know all of this that's inside of us, we will have a chance to access it and liberate it. To the green room!
Out and Equal is proud to introduce Academy Award-winning actor Olympia Dukakis.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. And I want to thank Celise for inviting me here to be part of this. I want to thank all of you for coming to the Workplace Summit 2014. Now, you all made a commitment to be here, so did I. You all care, so do I. But I have to tell you something. I didn't always care. In the 70s, my best friend, Bernie Hyatt, the cocktail stopped working. Actually, it was in the 80s, stopped working. And he decided he was going to join the Hemlock Association. And he was going to take himself out. And he told me. I made him promise that he would call me a week before he did this, so that I told him, I'll go anywhere you are. I just want to be able to say goodbye. And that happened. And we had a joyous couple of days together. And then he died. Meanwhile, I'm watching the government. I'm watching the AMA. I don't know how many of you remember that. I'm old enough to remember the AMA stumbling through all of this. You would have thought that with that tremendous emotional weight that I was carrying and looking at what was around me that I would care, but I didn't. What I cared, of course, most was about myself and my career and my family and et cetera, et cetera. All right, let's fast forward to Tales of the City. I get a call. They want me to do this part. I mean, I can't tell you how many actresses in America wanted to do that part. But Armistead was determined that I was to do that part. So I tried to prepare myself for it. I looked for biographies. There were 2 out. I read them, and what I discovered was that this was an incredibly painful transition, physically and emotionally. These guys were what they went through. So and that was it. That was all I did. We came out to LA and then eventually, of course, to San Francisco, where we did a lot of the shooting. And I realized I didn't know anything. And I said to Alan Poole, the producer, said, I have to talk to somebody. I don't really know anything about this. I just know how horribly painful the operation is and the recovery and this and that and everything. Because at the time, I know now the operations have changed and are not quite as brutal in their aftermath. So he said, okay, he found me someone. He said, this is a woman who was a man. The word transgender wasn't part of the vocabulary at the time. And she's going to come and have brunch with you. So knock on the door, I go there. There's a person who's 6'2", with hands big enough to hold a basketball. The softest, gentlest voice. She walks in. I'm thinking, wow, I didn't know what I was expecting, but I hadn't expected quite this dramatic presence. And we sat down, and she said to me, she worked in, she was a gender-related therapist, is the way she referred to it. And she said, tell me how I can help you. And I said, you have to tell me what it was that you needed and wanted that made it possible for you to go through this operation and the psychological transitioning, etc. And this is what she said to me. All my life, I yearned for the friendship of women. Now, I don't know what I expected. I actually thought, I expected, I think to be honest, something more sexual. I expected that, but that wasn't. She came from a place in her heart where, of course, she knew that she was a girl all those years, but didn't have access to that life, to that language, to those kinds of intimacies that she would have had as a young girl. So I, of course, instantly started to cry. It took me a while to understand why I was so moved by it, because it had, of course, I know for myself, when I react that strongly, something in me has been touched, you know. The most immediate thing that happened was, though, that we were shooting the scene, and Laura Linney and I it was a little party, because Anna Madrigal likes to have people around her. They were like a family she never had, and she, of course, she gives out her little sticks, and everybody is smoking away, and all that stuff is happening. And the director says, okay, I want to shoot this next segment that I thought was just part of the party. I want to shoot it in the bedroom with you and Laura. I thought, oh, okay. So we go into the bedroom, and he says, well, I want you to stand over here by the bureau. And I realized what was happening. This was a woman, and she wanted to have some interaction with her. She wanted some closeness. She wanted to be a friend. And I said, you know, when women go into a bedroom, they don't stand at a bureau and talk. They sit in a bed and talk. And he said, well, the bed is up. And I said, but I kind of persisted with it. And he did. He brought out the bed, and we did the scene there. And that all came from that conversation with her telling me how needy she had felt all her life about being able to have that kind of a connection with women. Okay, I was born and lived the first 9, 10 years of my life in Lowell, Massachusetts. You're kidding, okay. Great. Now, Lowell, at that time, during the Depression, this was a mill town, and a very mixed ethnic group of people worked there. There were Greeks, there were Italians, there were Irish, there were French that had come down the St. Lawrence, there were Germans. And our parents fought in the mills, and of course the kids fought in the streets. And what did we fight about? We fought about our names. We fought about our noses. We thought about, you can imagine the job they did on Dukakis. That was, you know, we fought about the food we ate. We fought about the fact that the Irish, you know, drank, and the Italians were wops, and the Greeks were greaseballs. I mean, you know, anything that represented in some way what we were feeling and hearing at home. So by the tender age of 8 or 9, I was like fighting in the streets. It didn't occur to me that there was another way people grew up. I thought that was it. And one day, when a kid was bugging me on the snow, we had sleds, broken down sleds, I have to tell you. But at any rate, there was something, and we came down the hill, and he was like doing all this stuff. And so I took the advantage when he was lying on his sled. I went over, I took my fist, and bang, I came down on his back. He screamed, he ran home. His mother came to the door. Your daughter did this, and your daughter did that. And my mother said, I don't interfere with what my daughter does on the street. I mean, what she was saying was, you're on your own. She knew that I was on my own out there. She understood that that was it. But, you know, as relieved as I was, I didn't realize, but the nickel dropped. No one had my back. I got it. So by the time we moved to Somerville, where I was tied up on a tree and had my socks stuffed down my throat, I was carrying a knife. Now, I'm not the first 13-year-old girl in America to carry a knife. I understand that. But then my mother would joke about things and say, and there was one day I heard you banging on so-and-so's door saying, come out and fight like a man. It was like my idea of being able to survive on the street was not by claiming that I was a girl or my sexuality. It was I had to be something else. I had to be a man. And that actually exacerbated. I mean, I was New England fencing champ for 3 years, so you can imagine. I mean, I didn't walk away from a fight. My husband jokes about it. He said, you never saw a fight you could walk away from. It's like, it just, boop, it comes up and I'm there. It's like, you know. So what happened when she said, all my life I yearned for the friendship of women? I knew what that was. I knew what that unspoken thing was. I knew what that yearning was. I knew what it was to play a role. I knew what it was. For me, the arts make possible for those of us who are in them to know ourselves, but they also make possible for our audiences and our viewers to know themselves. There is a wonderful, wonderful poem by Garcia Lorca that means a great deal to me, that actually relates not only to the artists but to the audiences. And it goes like this: the poem, the song, the picture is water drawn from the well of the people and should be given back to them in a cup of beauty, so that in drinking they will know themselves. This knowing of who we are and ourselves is what, and my understanding of that in my life, has made me care deeply about what's happening in this country. Especially, I'm interested in supporting those organizations that deal with the families, the mothers and fathers whose children tell them, I'm a boy, I'm a girl. And I try to raise money for those organizations because I know that that's where it all begins. This willingness to know your children and this willingness to know yourself. In closing, we are watching something none of us really imagined. Certainly, I did not imagine what would be happening today. And you've heard about that all afternoon here. Who would have thought in 2014 we would have marriage equality in more than 60% of the states? No. Who would imagine it? Major corporations demanding LGBT advocacy in the states in which they do business. Who could have imagined that? A sitting US president supporting inclusion of LGBT rights as basic human rights. This is like for me. Right. And I know this happened because of how much you all care, how much you're willing to put yourselves on the line, how much you're willing to participate and give of yourselves and your lives and your time and your energy. So I want to thank you. I want to thank you for that, and I want to thank you for bringing me here today. God bless. God bless.